No, I'm a bright guy who's terribly interested in what he does. So I've spent a lifetime doing it, and I've surrounded myself with people that bring out the best in me. And you don't need to be a genius in what I do. That's the good thing about it. If I went into physics or a whole lot of other subjects, I'd be an also-ran. But I am in a game that you don't need. You probably need 120 points of IQ, but 170 doesn't do any better than 120. It may do worse, probably do worse, but you don't really need brains. You need right orientation. 90% of the people, I'm putting a figure out of the air, but 90% of the people that buy stocks don't think of them the right way. They think about something that they hope goes up next week. And they think about the market as something they hope goes up. And if it's down, they feel worse. I feel better. Right? I think about what the company's going to be worth 10 or 20 years from now. And I hope it goes down when I buy it because I'll buy more. But you gotta be careful about what you compete in. It's a good thing I don't have a competitive spirit in chess or or football or anything like that. No, I'm an observer there. I enjoy watching things like that. But I try to keep my competitive spirit in a game where I can win. And I put my whole net worth in, and I've never, since that day, March 11th, 1942, I have never had less than 80% of my money in American business. You can call them stocks.
Or equities.
But I see them as American business. I've owned a piece of American business for at least 80% at all times. I don't want to own anything else. I want to own a home and things my family wants and all that. But owning 5 homes doesn't mean anything to me because I'm going to be happy in one home, and there's a certain amount of things that go wrong with everything. And if I got 2 homes, I know I've got more problems and I don't have more happiness. One, I know I'll win over time. That doesn't mean I'll beat everybody else or anything like that, but I'm in a game that's very, very, very easy if you have the right lessons in your mind about what you're buying. I'm not buying stocks. I'm buying pieces of overwhelmingly American business. And I'm happy when that's when I'm doing it. I'm happy when stocks are going down. I'm happier when stocks are going down because I can buy more of them with the same amount of money. I'd be happy if I was a farmer. I'd want farmland to go down so I could buy more acreage. If I was, it just makes sense. And I'll tell you the second thing I really like. I like being trusted by people. And, I would rather do what I do with partners than do it sitting in a room myself, even though I might make more money that way. They just say, look, I've saved money, I don't know what to do with it. And I trust you. And they give it to me. And they don't, most of them give it to me certainly in the original days, but even now to an unusual degree, give it to me with the idea that it's for the lifetime. And then most of them, they've done this a long time ago, most of them give it away when they get through. They never quit saving. And of course, I'm sort of their savings machine. And they don't do it with the idea they're going to retire when they're 65 and then build great castles or anything like that. They just basically, a few do. A few spend some money later on. But overwhelmingly, if they've been saving when they were 25 and saved a little money, gave it to me, they're still saving. There were 11 doctors that we met at a hilltop house. There was one friend of mine named Bill Angle, and he was trying to get these other doctors to join with me. So, I don't know when, it's 1958 or 9. He invited 12 doctors to this dinner at the hilltop house. He had me come. And he basically said, this is my friend Warren, and if you got any brains, you'll give him some money. And so we spent the evening, and these guys were all probably their low 30s. And 11 of the 12 put in $10,000 each. The 12th said to Bill, he said, well, what happens if we lose our money? And my friend Bill, I'll never forget it, he said, well, dummy, he says, we'll form another partnership. That was the guy that didn't invest. He got reminded of this by the other 11 for the rest of his life. And those people stuck with me. And one of them died in the last year. It's a friend of mine till the end. And 101. And his name was Stan Truls, and he came from a little town, about 300 people near Omaha. And he became an ophthalmologist and a super wonderful guy in every way. I mean, he helped all his fellow doctors, and you couldn't have found a finer guy than Stan. But 2 of the other 11, 2 of them are still alive. And the money, and the amount of money, I mean, they never even, they haven't built, you know, they could have done anything. I mean, they could have lived bigger than anybody in Nebraska, but they went with the lives they liked. I've lived in the same house, I bought it in 1958, so like 63 or 64 years. Quarter of the life of the country. I've lived a quarter of the life of the country in one house. And I like being 5 minutes from the office too. I mean, just think if I'd had a 35-minute commute. I've gone to the same office now since January of '62. So it's been 60 years, and let's say I save 30 minutes every day in commute. Last night, you know, I went to Music Man, and among the people who were with me was my friend Carol Loomis. Carol was 92. I sent her the report, which I think is perfect always at the time. I sent her the report in usually December, and she keeps sending back, and she kind of won't let me send it out without checking to make sure that I've left out a comma someplace, or so right up to the end. But so the report, although it's dated February 20th, that report basically was written. Well, it was written in my head for a long time, but it was what I thought was finished, probably in December. And then Carol tells me there's a lot of work to do. I wrote the report, and people can go to berkshirehathaway.com and they can see exactly what I think and have thought for 40 some years of each report. I need to know that I think that Berkshire Hathaway is going to be worth more money someday down the road. Not tomorrow. I want it to go down if I'm buying something. You know, and I would say this. The world has changed a lot since that report was written. But the world changed a lot in 2000. It's almost exactly 2 years later. An event happened 22 years ago. And we didn't know exactly what it was. We didn't know what the financial result would be. We didn't know what the political result would be. You know, I mean, we just didn't know. But when I wrote my report in February, I didn't know the pandemic was going to hit, you know, a week later. And I didn't know that the American financial system was on the brink of, you know, chaos. A few weeks later, and if somebody wants to read a great book that just came out, it's a sensational book called $1 Trillion Triage. That tells on a day-by-day basis what was going on in March that were, in my opinion, Jay Powell, he matched Paul Volcker in terms of doing things that needed to be done that day, you know, and it's a great day-by-day report. The book just came out a couple days ago. Everything in everything that happens in the investment world reminds me of something or other. I mean, every day. If it's a boring day, it reminds me of something. I mean, but I don't think that way. All I'm trying to do is buy business.